It was September 15th, 1960, and Cassius Clay was the most famous teenager in America. He'd just returned from the Rome Olympics with a gold medal hanging around his neck, and Louisville, Kentucky was throwing him a hero's welcome. Parades, banners, news cameras everywhere. But when the celebration ended and the crowds went home, Clay walked into a diner on 4th Street and discovered that in his own hometown, an Olympic gold medal meant absolutely nothing if you had the wrong color skin. The journey had started 3 weeks earlier when 18-year-old Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. stepped onto the Olympic podium in Rome, Italy. He just defeated Poland's Zbigniew Pietrzykowski in the light heavyweight boxing final, winning the gold medal for the United States. As the national anthem played and the American flag rose above the arena, Clay stood there with tears streaming down his face, his hand over his heart, believing with every fiber of his being that he'd made his country proud. The gold medal they placed around his neck that day became his most prized possession. It wasn't just a piece of metal to him. It was proof that he was somebody. Proof that a poor black kid from Louisville's West End could become a champion. Proof that hard work and talent could overcome anything, even the color of your skin. Clay wore that medal everywhere. He slept with it on. He wore it in the shower. He wore it while training at the gym. When reporters asked him why he never took it off, he grinned and said, "Because I want everyone to know I'm the Olympic champion. I want them to know I represented America and made my country proud." When Clay's plane touched down at Louisville's Standiford Field on September 10th, 1960, he was greeted like a conquering hero. Thousands of people lined the streets from the airport to downtown. The mayor declared it Cassius Clay Day. Local businesses hung banners congratulating their hometown champion. Even the Louisville Courier-Journal, the city's main newspaper, ran a front-page story with the headline, "Our Cassius, Olympic gold brings pride to Louisville." For 5 days, Clay lived in a dream. He was invited to speak at schools, where children asked to touch his medal. He appeared on local television shows. He was interviewed on the radio. White business owners, who'd never acknowledged his existence before, now wanted to shake his hand and have their pictures taken with him. For the first time in his life, Clay felt like the color of his skin didn't matter. He was just an American champion, and Louisville loved him. But on the afternoon of September 15th, the dream came crashing down. Clay and 2 of his childhood friends, Ronnie King and Rudy Clay, no relation but they'd grown up on the same street, decided to celebrate one more time before Cassius left for a professional boxing training camp. They'd been walking around downtown Louisville, showing the medal to anyone who wanted to see it, accepting congratulations from strangers. Around 4 in the afternoon, they got hungry and decided to get something to eat. They walked down 4th Street, past the theaters and shops, until they came to the Waverly Restaurant, a popular diner known for its hamburgers and milkshakes. Through the large front windows, they could see it was only half full. Plenty of empty seats at the counter and in the booths. "Let's eat here," Ronnie said. "I'm starving, and they've got the best burgers in town." Cassius hesitated. He'd walked past this restaurant hundreds of times in his life, but he'd never been inside. His mother had told him it was a whites-only establishment, one of the many places in Louisville where black people weren't welcome. But things had changed, hadn't they? He was an Olympic champion now. He'd represented America on the world stage. Surely that meant something. "Come on," Cassius said, pushing open the door, the gold medal gleaming against his red Olympic team jacket. "I'm an American hero now. They'll serve us." The 3 young men walked into the Waverly Restaurant, and for a moment, everything seemed fine. A few customers looked up from their meals, some recognized Clay, and nodded in acknowledgement. The friends found an empty booth near the window and sat down, Cassius making sure his medal was visible, hanging proudly on his chest. A waitress, a middle-aged white woman with tired eyes and a coffee-stained apron, approached their table. She looked uncomfortable, her eyes darting toward the back of the restaurant where the owner's office was located. "Can I help you, boys?" she asked, her voice neutral but strained. "Yes, ma'am," Cassius said with his trademark smile, the one that had charmed reporters in Rome. "We'd like 3 hamburgers, 3 Cokes, and 3 orders of French fries, please." The waitress didn't write down the order. She just stood there, looking more uncomfortable by the second. "I need to check something. Just wait here." She hurried toward the back of the restaurant, disappearing through a door marked "Private." Cassius and his friends exchanged glances, but didn't say anything. Around them, conversations had stopped. Other diners were watching them now, some with curiosity, others with expressions that were harder to read. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 2 minutes, the waitress returned. Behind her was the owner, a stocky white man in his 50s named Richard Wayne, wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up and a scowl on his face. Wayne walked straight to their booth and looked down at the 3 young men with an expression of barely concealed disgust. His eyes briefly registered the gold medal around Cassius's neck, but if it impressed him, he didn't show it. "Boys," Wayne said, his voice loud enough that everyone in the restaurant could hear, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Cassius felt his stomach drop, but he kept his smile in place, though it felt frozen now, unnatural. "Sir, we just want to order some food. We have money to pay." "I don't care if you've got the Hope Diamond in your pocket," Wayne replied. "This is a private establishment, and we reserve the right to serve who we want to serve, and we don't serve coloreds." The word hung in the air like poison. Cassius felt his face grow hot. His friends had gone silent beside him. Around the restaurant, some diners had gone back to their meals, while others continued to watch, their faces showing a mixture of embarrassment and approval. "Sir," Cassius said, his voice quieter now but still trying to maintain dignity, "I just won an Olympic gold medal for America. I represented our country in Rome. I thought—" "I don't care if you won 10 gold medals," Wayne interrupted. "The rules are the rules. This is a whites-only restaurant, and you boys need to leave. Now." Cassius slowly reached up and took the gold medal in his hand, holding it out so Wayne could see it clearly. "I won this for America, for our country. I stood on that podium and watched our flag go up and listened to our anthem. Doesn't that mean anything?" For just a moment, something flickered in Wayne's eyes. Maybe shame, maybe discomfort, but it was quickly replaced by stubborn resolve. "Not in here, it doesn't. Now I'm asking you nicely to leave before I call the police." The mention of police made Ronnie and Rudy stand up immediately. They knew what happened to black men in Louisville who caused trouble in white establishments. They knew about the beatings, the arrests, the disappearances, but Cassius sat there for a moment longer, staring at the gold medal in his hand. All those years of training, all those early mornings at the gym, all those dreams of making his country proud, all those moments in Rome when he'd believed that athletic excellence could transcend race. All of it suddenly felt meaningless in the face of those 3 words. "We don't serve coloreds." "Cassius, come on," Ronnie whispered urgently. "Let's just go." Slowly, Cassius stood up. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a mixture of humiliation, anger, and profound disillusionment. As he walked toward the door, he could feel every eye in the restaurant on him. Some people looked away, embarrassed to witness his humiliation. Others stared openly, their faces showing satisfaction that this uppity black kid was being put in his place. But then something unexpected happened. A young white couple sitting in a booth near the door stood up as Cassius passed. The man, probably in his mid-20s, looked at Wayne and said, "What you just did was shameful. That young man is an American hero. You can leave too, if you don't like how I run my restaurant." Wayne shot back. The couple did leave. Walking out behind Cassius and his friends, on the sidewalk, the white man approached Cassius, his hand extended. "I'm sorry about that, son. What you did in Rome made us all proud. That man in there doesn't speak for all of us." Cassius shook his hand automatically, but he could barely process what was happening. The kindness of this stranger couldn't erase the humiliation of what had just occurred. He mumbled a thank you, and the couple walked away. The three friends stood on the sidewalk outside the Waverly restaurant, silent. Finally, Rudy said, "Man, let's just go get some food somewhere else." But Cassius wasn't ready to move. He stood there staring at the gold medal in his hand. Under the afternoon sun, it looked as bright and golden as ever, but somehow it felt different now, cheaper, less significant. "I thought this meant something," Cassius said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "I thought if I won this, if I made America proud, things would be different. I thought I'd earned respect." "You did earn respect," Ronnie said. "From people who matter. That guy in there? He doesn't matter." But Cassius shook his head. "If I can't even get served a hamburger in my own hometown wearing an Olympic gold medal, what does any of it matter? What was it all for?" What Cassius Clay didn't know in that moment of devastation was that this experience would become one of the defining moments of his life. The young man who'd believed that athletic achievement could overcome racial barriers was learning a harsh but essential truth. In 1960s America, excellence and patriotism weren't enough to earn equal treatment if you were black. The experience at the Waverly restaurant changed something fundamental in Cassius Clay, according to some accounts. Later that night, devastated and angry, Clay went to the 2nd Street Bridge that crossed the Ohio River. He stood there for a long time, looking at the gold medal in his hand, thinking about what it represented and what it had failed to protect him from. Some versions of the story say he threw the medal into the river that night, a symbolic rejection of an America that celebrated him as a champion but refused to serve him a hamburger. Other versions dispute this, saying the medal was lost years later, but whether the physical act of throwing the medal happened or not, the emotional truth of that moment was real. The young man who'd believed in the American dream with his whole heart had his faith shattered in a Louisville diner. This experience helped push Cassius Clay toward the path that would lead him to join the Nation of Islam, change his name to Muhammad Ali, and become not just a boxing champion, but a voice for racial justice and equality. The young man who'd cried tears of patriotic pride on that Olympic podium in Rome would become the man who refused to fight in Vietnam, who spoke out against racial injustice, who demanded respect, not because of his achievements, but because of his humanity. Years later, when Ali was asked about the restaurant incident, he said, "I learned something that day that I've never forgotten. They can give you medals and trophies and tell you you're a hero, but they can't give you dignity. You have to take that for yourself. And sometimes taking it means refusing to accept their definition of who you are and what you're worth." The Waverly restaurant closed its doors in 1968, a victim of changing times and civil rights legislation that made its discriminatory practices illegal. Richard Wayne died in 1974, and there's no record of whether he ever regretted how he treated an 18-year-old Olympic champion that September afternoon. But that young white couple who walked out of the restaurant in protest, they wrote a letter to the Louisville Courier-Journal about what they'd witnessed. The newspaper published it, and it sparked a conversation in Louisville about how the city treated its black citizens, even the ones who brought it glory on the world stage. The story of Cassius Clay's humiliation at a Louisville diner became part of a larger narrative about the civil rights movement, about the gap between America's ideals and its reality, and about why exceptional achievement by black Americans couldn't and shouldn't be the price of basic human dignity and respect. Today, there's a museum in Louisville dedicated to Muhammad Ali's life and legacy. One of the exhibits focuses on this moment, the day an Olympic champion learned that in segregated America, a gold medal meant nothing if you had the wrong color skin. Visitors read the story, and many of them cry, realizing how recently in American history this kind of treatment was not just accepted, but defended as a business owner's right. The exhibit includes this quote from Ali. "That day in the restaurant taught me that freedom isn't given, it's taken. Respect isn't earned by achievement, it's demanded as a human right. And sometimes the greatest fight isn't in the ring. It's the fight to be treated like a human being." If this story moved you, subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to understand why the fight for equality and dignity is never just about the past, it's about ensuring we never go back. Let us know in the comments, how do you think America has changed since 1960, and how much work is still left to do? Ring that notification bell for more powerful stories about the moments that shaped our greatest champions and our nation.